So you see my screen, yeah? Question number 20. It says you have Microsoft 365 subscription that contains 500 macOS devices enrolled in Microsoft Intune. You need to ensure that you can apply Microsoft Defender for endpoint antivirus policies to the Mac devices. So So if you see the options are given, you need to assign Microsoft Defender to Mac OS devices. So onboarding, if you just onboard Mac OS devices to Microsoft Purview, that's a different feature, and it doesn't help with the Microsoft endpoint security, Microsoft antivirus. So option A is incorrect. And from Microsoft Intune Admin Center, create a security baseline. The security baseline is more related to the device risks. You know, like devices at risk, whether they should allow to join or they shouldn't allow to join. Or you could give them like conditional access, something like this, so they are related to security baseline. Install Defender for endpoint on Mac OS devices. Now if you install Windows Defender on Mac OS devices, you don't know that whether the Defender is installed on the device or not. While you are the administrator, you need to make sure that the device is installed, that the antivirus is installed on Mac OS device. So the best option is from the Microsoft Intune Admin Center, create a configuration profile. When you create a configuration profile, you assign a policy in the policy in the configuration policy. You can define that the device must have this antivirus Microsoft Defender. Yeah, so most of the things we do in configuration profiles. So option D is correct. That is the correct one. Okay. This one is we discussed I think yesterday a little bit. Question number 21. If you go to these labs, you can do these labs in point using Intune. I'm gonna show you in the lab as well. So you have an Azure AD tenant and 100 Windows 10 devices that are Azure AD joined and managed by using Microsoft Intune. You need to configure Microsoft Defender Firewall and Microsoft Defender Antivirus on devices. Now, one is Microsoft Defender Firewall, and one is Defender Antivirus. So antivirus and firewall is they are different things. You know that firewall do more than just scanning the devices. Firewall can block certain applications, can block certain websites, access to certain websites, or even it can block you from running different scripts. Yeah, so the solution must minimize administrative effort. Which two actions should you perform? If you see the first one, to configure Microsoft antivirus, create a group policy object. And yesterday I told you group policy object, we do it on Active Directory. Well, this is related to Azure AD tenant, right? So we don't, this one is already eliminated. Now, if you see option B, to configure Microsoft Defender Firewall, create a device configuration profile and configure the device restriction settings. So If you go, I believe I have it here. If I go to Intune, if I go to Intune device, okay, endpoint security. So first you go to devices, and if you go here, configuration profiles. So let's go to configuration profile and create. I'm gonna create a new policy for that says Windows 10, right? Windows 10 or later, and then select profile. So I'm gonna select template, and here if you see, you can see that device restriction, and here is also anti-malware. uh, Device restrictions, I just did it. Device restrictions. Okay, in device restrictions you can see antivirus, Microsoft Defender antivirus. So you can configure Microsoft Defender antivirus from where? No, not endpoint security. It was configuration profile. Yeah, and what it says here, it says device restriction settings, right? Device configuration profile and device restrictions settings. And so these two are correct. Let's see to configure. Okay, this is saying Defender, Microsoft Defender firewall. So my we don't set, like I showed you there. We cannot set Microsoft Defender firewall in configuration profile. In configuration profile, I showed you. Yeah, we only do their what do you call it? Antivirus. Yeah, I just showed you. Here we only do antivirus. We can't do the configuration profile. Where is it? Create from configuration profile. If I go, I endpoint protection, and then I click next. So you see here I can do only Microsoft. I think I missed it again. It was, yeah, it wasn't there. It was configuration profile, create a new policy, and Windows 10 or later, templates. Uh, which one was it? I just did it. Uh, Endpoint protection, and here, but here it doesn't show now. It's yeah, recorded. Yeah, yeah, recorded it. Okay, anyway, I think we will just skip this. I just showed you. So my point was you can't configure Microsoft Defender firewall from configuration profile and device. Oh, that was device restriction settings. So you in device restriction settings, if you go to device restriction settings, you can't configure Microsoft Defender Firewall. And option C is to configure Microsoft Defender antivirus, create a device configuration profile, and configure endpoint protection settings. So again, this is correct. It's device configuration profile. There is no endpoint protection settings in Microsoft Defender antivirus. Okay, then this one I just showed you, which I told you I can't find it here. This one, Microsoft Endpoint Protection. You see, there is no antivirus. You see, these are all the available options. You can't find it. Um, you can't find it. The antivirus that was in conf- yeah, configuration profile, and that was in device restrictions. Windows 10 uh, template device restrictions, it was here. If you go to device restrictions, then the you can see the antivirus. So antivirus setting here, Microsoft Defender antivirus, you see this. Yeah, so for antivirus, you need to go to device restriction settings. So first you read here what it says to configure Microsoft Defender firewall. It says go to device restriction settings. Yeah, yeah, that's not true. This one is also not true. It says to configure Microsoft Defender antivirus, right? Go to endpoint protection. You see, now, the Microsoft Defender antivirus is not in endpoint protection setting. I just showed you protection setting. There is no Defender antivirus. So these one, if you see to configure Microsoft Defender antivirus, create a device configuration profile, which I just created, and create the device restriction settings. So from there you can do the Microsoft Defender antivirus. And then this one says to configure Microsoft Defender firewall, create a device configuration profile. So again, you need to create a device configuration profile, but there you have to choose endpoint protection settings. Yeah, you see both, for both you have to create a yeah, create configuration profile. Now from here you can choose whether you want the endpoint protection. So endpoint protection is this one, right? And endpoint protection, you don't have the antivirus option, but in device restrictions you have the antivirus option. Yes. I hope that's clear now. Yeah. Yeah, and to configure Microsoft Defender Firewall, create a group policy object again. So the group policy object at first instance, we eliminate these two. Okay, question number 22. You have an Azure AD group named Group 1 that contains, this one is a bit tricky one. That contains group 1 contains two Windows 10 devices named device 1 and device 2. So one group is created, right? And in that one group, which is named as group 1, there are two devices, right? Two devices, device 1 and device 2, and both have Windows 10 Enterprise, right? Operating system. Now you create a device configuration profile named profile 1. So you created a configuration profile, a policy, and you assign profile 1 to group 1. So you have assigned the policy to group 1. Technically both devices have Windows 10 operating system, and the policy will be applied to both devices. Yeah, since you have assigned this policy to group 1 and group 1 has two devices both running Windows, right? So you need to ensure that profile 1 applies to device 1 only, right? So what should you do? What should you modify in profile? Now you have assigned the policy by default the policy will be applied to both devices, but here the objective is you must ensure that the only device one, the policy is only applied to device one. So what should you do? You do assignments? Should you edit assignments? Should you change the settings, the scope, or the applicability rules? So the scopes, I told you there is no roll-up scopes. These are just name, for name reasons, for identifications, no matter whatever scope you give it, yeah. So it doesn't matter. Applicability rules, if you see applicability rules settings also, it is with the device settings, and device settings won't change something with the with Intune, right, or with Azure. So these two are eliminated in the first instance. They are not correct. Now you have assignments and applicability rule. So what would you say? Yeah. Yeah, assignment is right. First, I was thinking applicability rules, which is also kind of right, applicability rule. But if you go to Intune, there is no such thing applicability rule. This is something. Yeah, there is no such thing applicability rules, right? And it is asking you what should you modify in profile, right? Yeah, so it is kind of a, a general context, applicability rules. Yes, applicability rules, but those applicability rules, you have to define those applicability rules in assignments. Yeah. So in assignments, you can use the applicability rules. Remember, we have dynamic and assigned. When when you are, yes. Yeah. So if you use assign, so technically it will be assigned to both devices, to group, right? You choose a group, and it will in group one, so it will be assigned to that group. But if you choose dynamic, in dynamic you can define, for example, both are running Windows, but maybe there are some features that you can define in the dynamic query. That then based on that, even the if the policy is applied to both groups, but based on that dynamic query, only device one is enrolled in Intune. Okay. So you have question number 23. You have Microsoft 365 subscription uh, that includes Microsoft Intune. You need to implement Microsoft Defender for endpoint solution that meet the following requirements. Okay, this one is more tricky. You have to be very careful with this question. It enforces compliance for Defender for endpoint by using conditional access. So if you see conditional access, the first thing that comes in mind, here they're asking you that um, where is it? What should you configure? What should you configure? Right? That is the question. You have to choose from these four options. So for compliance enforcement, you need to choose one from this, and prevent suspicious scripts that you need to choose from this one. Right. Now, if you see compliance enforcement, what comes first in your mind? That is device restriction policy, right? It is device restriction policy that comes because compliance, the policy, compliance, we always create a compliance policy for device restrictions. If the device is compliant Yeah, that is a restrictions applied. If the device is compliant, it will be enrolled, otherwise will not be enrolled. We create these kind of policies, right? So the objective here is enforces compliance for Defender for an endpoint by using conditional access. So you need to use a conditional access to enforce compliance for Defender. So the policy says that if the device has Defender installed, then it will be allowed access. Otherwise, no. And the other objective is prevent suspicious scripts from running on devices. Right? So these two objectives you want to achieve. Now, what should you configure? So this one is a device restriction policy. As I said, is more appropriate, right? If you see broad, if you look broadly, it's more appropriate because sorry, not broadly, but most specifically, because once the device is enrolled, then you have to what do you call it, you can create a device restriction policy, right? But here in the question it doesn't say whether the device is enrolled or not. Yeah, so there is an option Intune connection, an Intune connection. So an Intune connection, if you go, I have um, explained here. An Intune connection is a connection between a device and Microsoft Intune. It is not configuration setting. It does not affect the security of device. So first you need to connect device to Intune, right? You need an Intune connection. If there is no Intune connection, you cannot apply you cannot apply these restriction policies to that device, right? So that is why enforces compliance. To enforce a compliance, first you need to make an Intune connection to that device. Yeah, then you can create a device restriction policy or this Defender compliance for Defender, this policy. So the correct option is an Intune connection. This one I told you is very tricky, but you need to remember this one. Yeah, first you need an Intune connection to enforce compliance. And the second one is a security baseline. I told you earlier. It is more like with device risks and security. So nothing, yeah, nothing related to the policy. This Microsoft Defender or something. Now we are left with an attack surface reduction. We didn't cover this in the labs, but this is the correct option for prevent suspicious threats. And this option is there in Microsoft Defender. If you go there, you can configure this and attack surface detection rule. If you, and I have also explained here what is a security baseline for configuration setting. No, sorry, um, this one. An ASR rule is a policy that blocks or audits certain behaviors that are often associated with attacks. In this case, you can create an ASR rule, right? An ASR rule that blocks scripts from running unless they are signed by a trusted publisher or have been approved by the administrator. So you can only run those scripts which has been approved by the administrator, right? You can run only these scripts. So to prevent suspicious scripts, use this one and attack surface reduction rule. Yeah, like I said, this one is tricky one. I already gave you a clue. Before you make any device restrictions, you need an Intune connection, and it doesn't say whether the device has Intune connection or not with Intune, right? So in the question, like I said, it's tricky one. Okay, this one is also not that tricky, but question number 24. So your network contains on premises Active Directory domain and Azure AD tenant, right? So you have Active Directory domain and Azure AD tenant on your local directory. The default domain policy GPO group policy objects contain the settings shown in the following table. So lockout bed counts 0, maximum password age, minimum password age with. So if you take a look, this is a password policy, isn't it? It's a password policy, right? So you need to migrate the existing default domain policy GPU settings to a device configuration profile. Which device configuration profile type should you use? Now, device restriction. And if you see administrative templates, right? Administrative templates, endpoint protection and custom, these are incorrect. Yeah, there is an option in custom as well, but forget about this custom. We don't go in much details. This is like we discussed yesterday. This is not the advanced level course, so we use only the easy features. So administrative templates and device restrictions, you have to choose one in between these two. If you say device restrictions, why not administrative templates? No, well, administrative template. If you go to Intune, if you go to Azure, and you want to or Intune, and if you want to apply a policy, right? Apply a policy, so you can go to administrative templates, yeah, and then you can use the policy. You can extract the policy from your local Active Directory, and you apply that policy, upload it to Intune. Remember, we did a lab, right? We did a lab, and all the policies which were implemented and which were not implemented also shown, right? Some of them were not supported. Yeah, so you do that lab. So, and then we have device restrictions policy. Now, the issue here is if you use administrative templates, yeah, that is going to take all the policies from your local Active Directory to Intune, yeah, to Azure AD. But here it says you need to apply this policy only, which is a password policy. So for this one, if you go to device restrictions, right? Device restrictions, you can upload there a policy, like single policies, not all policies, but single policies. You can create your own. Yeah, we just try to create there. You can create your own, or you can upload one, the one that you have downloaded from your Active Directory. So more appropriate one is device restrictions. Yeah, because administrative template will apply all the policies. Yeah, and we only want to apply this policy. So this for this policy, you can use device restrictions policy. Yeah, yeah, these are all there. If you go there in Intune, you can do there. Well, like we discussed these 10 questions today. Yeah, it's not a big deal. All of these you can try in Intune. You know, the best thing I do is like, finding the keywords, here, and then finding in, just use Control F in the, what do you call it, in that cloud one, this one, MD100, in this one. If any of the keywords matches, then I just take it out and put it here. Yeah, so for example, uh, yeah, for example, let's say I want to use this one, Active Directory, because I'm looking for a lab that could be related to this question. So I copy it, and then I go here, find, and then Active Directory, create an Azure AD. There is, if you see, you have 35 options. So sometimes you need to narrow down your search. Otherwise, if there is no match, then you can use these options, you see. So there is a lab, and it must bring you to there, it should bring you there. Create a group, hold on. Active Directory, verify password, right backs. I think this one is related to that one. Configure password, right backs. No, this one is not. This one is just syncing the passwords. Group policy analytics to validate GPU. Okay, this one. If you go to this one, uh, you can, here it shows you to, to export local group policies, and then upload it in YouTube, in Intune. So you always use this trick, to find the labs. Okay, this one is done. Question number 25. So you have 100 computers that run Windows 10. Okay, Windows 10, and connect Azure Log Analytics Workspace. Each correct. Which three types of data can you collect from the computers by using log analytics? So if you see failure events from the security logs, you can collect these ones as well, from the log analytics. From log analytics, you can collect these ones as well. Uh, uh, and this one, no, not this one. The list of processes and their executions. If you see this one, we use it in, what was it, the startup, and we did a question previously, in which you have to look for the startup, device startup and process, device startup time. And if there are any issues with device startup or something, so you can use it. So that is not from log analytics. It was from another option, I forgot that. So B is not correct. B, from in log analytics, you can't use in Azure log analytics. Yeah, you can't see this list of processes and their execution times. Now, the average processor utilization, the average, uh, this one is mentioned in. You can collect these ones in Azure Log Analytics. I think we don't have a lab, but maybe you can try if you can find it, and then you can see if you have these options there. And error events from the system logs. So if you see this one, and this one is kind of the same things. So errors, these ones you can see. Third party application logs, you can see, you can collect these ones. And this one, the average processor utilization. These three options, they are correct. Yeah. Mm. And this one, failure events from logs, you can also collect this one, but I think they fall in this category. You know, if you put in this category, so this is more broad category, so why not choose this one, which is more appropriate. This, it covers even failure events from the security log. Yeah. It's some of these questions I think we will just memorize because we haven't done these labs, you know. Yeah. Okay, this one, question number 25, 26. You have Microsoft 365 subscription that contains 25 computers that run Windows 11 and are in Intune. Enrolled in Intune, you need to onboard the devices to Microsoft Defender for endpoint. What should you do? And attack surface reduction. We discussed this one. It has nothing related to Microsoft Defender for endpoint, right? Because it is scanning for the scripts or other malicious activities. A security baseline, I told you, not related to its kind of risk analysis or something based. And option C is an endpoint detection and response policy. In endpoint detection. Yeah, this one is correct. I just memorize it. But if you sometimes you will need to apply the elimination rule. These ones. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So these two are already eliminated, and in account protection, it is if you see an account protection policy, this is more related to users' passwords and password strength. You know, pass policies like that. You know, which are related to the account to the user, and antivirus policy is also not applicable here. Yeah, so an endpoint detection and response, that one is left with us. So even if we don't know, so that one is correct one. Okay, question number 27. Your company use Microsoft Intune to manage devices. You need to ensure that only Android devices that use work profile. Okay, so it is asking you that you need to ensure that only Android devices which has work profile that are allowed to enroll in Intune, yeah? So which two configurations should you perform in the device enrollment restrictions? You are making a configuration profile for device enrollment, and which options should you choose from there? So, okay, so which options is it okay now? I think Ikram is let Ikram, can you mute yourself maybe? Can you can you hear me? Okay, Ikram, it was I think he's running a fan. So, which two options? Yeah, you have to choose. Now, from Microsoft, from platform setting, if you go to Android device configuration profile, and you see there from device settings, set Android device administrator personally owned to block. You know, So I believe if you go to the device configuration, there you don't see this personally owned, personally administrator personally owned. This one, there is no such thing where then you should allow or block. Yeah, if you go there, Android device administrator personally owned, then you will see an option block or allow. But this one, I believe this one is not there. Yeah, this option is not available there. Well, technically it should be. If it was there, then we would choose this one. But in Intune, this option is not available there, so you will need to choose an option from the available options, right? So from platform setting, set Android Enterprise work profile to allow. So if you see, this one is more appropriate. So this one is the correct option. This one. Yeah, because there in settings, Android Enterprise and Android Enterprise work profile is set to allowed. And here, what is the you need to ensure that only Android devices that use work profiles can enroll in Intune. So this one, option B, is correct. But you are asked to choose two options. Yeah, two configuration should you which two configurations should you, so one is this one, B, and the other one is, if you look from platform settings, set Android device administrator personally owned to allow. So if Android device administrator personally owned to allow. Yeah, yeah, from platform settings, set Android device administrator. Okay. You see, so personally owned is allowed here, so which means we will not choose this one as well, right? From platform settings, set Android device administrator to block. So there is this option, set Android device administrator. So if you choose device Android device administrator, by default, Android device administrator itself is there is an administrator. If you you take a look at rooted devices and unrooted devices, so usually, normally when you get a phone from the company, it is unrooted, and when you root it, then you become an administrator, but by default you are not administrator, you don't have the full privileges, right? Even in that case, it is Android device administrator. Yeah, so if that is blocked, Android device administrator is blocked, then that is the correct option. So we need you option A, sorry, option B and option D, they are correct options. Okay, this one, do you remember this one when using the kiosk? Not in Active Directory, not on premises one, the cloud one. Yeah, yeah, I have it. I had it here. If you go, yeah, if you go here and let's say create a configuration profile and create one, select platform, Windows 10 or later, and templates. Here is kiosk. You see this one? Kiosk, create. First, let's understand the question. What is asked in the question? So you have the device configuration profile shown in the following exhibit. This is the settings that has been shown. Yeah. Now you need to choose this. This one is. It's not. You need to choose the correct options. Users with this settings, it says users can access any URL, cannot view the address bar in Microsoft Edge, can only access URLs that include contoso.com. What would you say? Which one is correct? Users can access any URL or not? Cannot view the address bar or not? Yeah, if you look at the configuration setting, select a user, that is the configuration setting, single app, full screen, right? Then user logon type, that is auto logon, and application type is Microsoft Edge, that is the website that by default this website will be open, and Microsoft kiosk mode is public browsing in private, and refresh browser after idle. So after 5 seconds it will refresh, the browser will refresh if it is inactive for and so this is not configured. So there is no such thing defined that whether you can access any URL or not, or you cannot view the address bars. Yeah, so that means if you mentioned a kiosk URL, can you access all any URL? Okay, so this one is that you can only access URLs that include Contoso, or can only access URL that starts with contoso.com, yeah? And which with Windows 10 and later devices can have a single Microsoft Edge instance that has a single tab or multiple tabs. Which one is correct? So by your answer, when you choose from here, then that means we can only have single tag, right? Yeah, but let's see whether these answers are correct or not. Yeah, I'm gonna show you. Can access any URL. You can access any URL, and that if you can access any URL, then that means you can have multiple tabs as well. Now let's see to the kiosk. Kiosk. I'm gonna just name any. Then click on next. Click on next and configured. Now I'm gonna choose a single app full screen, right? Because they have choose this one. And user log on, they choose this one. Auto log on, right? They choose this one. And application type Microsoft Edge, this one, they choose this one, right? Now you type, if you configure these settings, you can verify. So here you type http contoso.com, and these settings are the same as the exhibit shown in the question, right? And if you create this profile, assign it to a device, then you will see that you can access multiple tabs. You can access any URL, and this one is mentioned here. I have provided the link as well. Yeah, if you look here, kiosk mode support features. So this is the table. So feature, if you see in private navigation, yes, yes, supported by. We have two options here. Let me show you that again. Here is the kiosk. Kiosk. We have two options here. This one, public browsing and digital interactive signage. We have two options. So I have chosen public browsing, which is chosen in which is chosen in the question. So let's go to this one. Find that one. Multi-tap support. Multi-tap support. If you see digital signage, no, not supported, but public browsing supports multi-tap. Yeah, and allow URL support. There was another one. Allow URL support. Block URL. Show intro settings. URL. There was an option that also say can access any URL in private, delete downloads, read on the address bar. Read on the address bar, that means not this one. Allow URL support, no. Okay. Yeah, so multi-tab is supported, multi-tab, if multi-tab is supported, then that means that you can access any URL. Restrict will display. I saw this option somewhere. It was here somewhere. Activity line. Yeah, yeah, you can access all the URLs. Okay, so this one can access any URL and a single Microsoft Edge instance that has multiple tabs. Question number 29. It says you have 10 Microsoft devices. You need to configure the devices to retrieve Windows updates. This is very important, to retrieve Windows updates from internet and from computers on local network, right? We don't have a lab. We I think we didn't do any lab for this one, but I'm gonna show you where you can find this. And which delivery optimization setting you configure, and which type of Intune object should you create, right? So you have to delivery optimization settings and Intune object, which object you have to create. Now let's go to Intune. I'm gonna show you the Intune. um So in Intune, if you go to a configuration profile there, then you will see an option download optimization. Where is Intune here? So this is my Intune, and I'm gonna go to devices, configuration profile. Okay, configuration profiles, and create a new policy. I'm gonna choose Windows 10, templates, and delivery optimization. You see delivery optimization. Now I want to create a profile for delivery optimization, and now I can name it, and then I'm gonna click on next. And download mode, you see download mode, this one, download mode, delivery optimization. In delivery optimization settings you can choose download mode. In download mode you can define these, the devices to retrieve should can retrieve updates from internet and from computers on a local. So the appropriate option is this one. Download mode, this one, hold on. HTTP blended with internet peering, this one. So if you choose this one, This one will download, I think this one, yeah, will download from, yeah. So peering means on network, and HTTP also from websites, from internet, you can download. So if you choose this one is the correct option for Windows updates, to retrieve Windows updates from internet and from computers. Okay. So download mode and Intune object. Intune object, we create Intune object in configuration profile. Okay, this one I explained to Stephen yesterday. You remember this one? Yeah, so it says you have an Azure AD tenant that contains the user shown in the following. So user 1, user 2, group 1, group 2, right? You have devices enrolled in Microsoft Intune as shown in the following. Device 1, device 1 is a member of group 1. Device 2 is also a member of group 2, right? Windows 10 and device 1 is Windows 10 and device 2 is Android, and both of them are group 1, members of group 1. Device 3 is has iOS and is a member of group 2. Now from Intune you create and send a custom notification named notification 1 to group 1. So it is only the custom notifications are only sent to group 1 devices, right? And in group 1 we have Windows 10 and we have Android, yeah, device 1 and device 2. So for which it says user 1 receives notification on device 1. So user 1 receives notification on device 1. Device 1 is a member of group 1, so it should receive notifications, and user 1 is also a member of group 1. But I explained to you yesterday, use Windows 10, Windows devices, they don't what do you call, support custom notifications, right? Windows devices, they don't support custom notifications. That is why user 1 on device 1 cannot receive notifications, these notifications on device 1, because device 1 is Windows 10 and Windows 10 does not support custom notifications. If you see that user 2 receives notification on device 2, so user 2 is a member of group 2, right? And will not receive notifications on device 2 because it is assigned to group 1. The custom notifications are sent to group 1. User 1 receives notification on device 3. So if you see device device 3 is iOS devices, but user 2 is a member of group 2, and if you see notifications are sent to group 1 only, so group 1 has user, so user 2 doesn't receive notifications on device 3. Let me explain in other way. So okay, let's say user 1 is a member of group 1, right? And the notifications are sent to group 1, right? Now user 1, if user 1 sits on device 1, so device 1 is Windows device, and Windows device doesn't support custom notifications, so user 1 doesn't receive any notifications on device 1, right? And then if user 2 sits on device 2, so he receives notifications on device 2, because device 2 is Android, and user 1 is a member of group 1 to whom custom notifications are sent. And if user 1 sits on device 3, so user 1 again is a member of group 1 to whom notifications are sent, and device 3 is iOS, so user 1 receives notifications on device 3 as well. Device one, user one not receive do not receives notifications on device one. User one receives notifications on device two and device three both. But if you look at device user 2, so user 2 automatically doesn't receive notifications because we haven't sent any notifications to user 2. And also Windows 10 is not so it doesn't support custom notifications. But if user 2 sits on your device 2 or device 3, because Android and iOS they support custom notifications. But the thing is, we haven't sent any notifications from for to group 2, right? The notifications are only sent to group 1, and which has only a member group user 1. User 2 is a member of group 2, and we haven't sent any notification. So user 2 receives no notifications if user 2 sits on any computer.